Hey folks, thank you for joining us for episode 2, and thank you for the feedback and the support from episode 1. It was wonderful because we were extremely nervous. And actually, I think I'm more nervous for this episode because of the topic. So we'll see. But before we get into the episode, this video has no video. There is no video to this episode because we had technical difficulties during the recording, and we also had technical difficulties during post-production, which is why we're a day late. So thank you for your patience. It's been a week, y'all. And I'm sorry for those who were expecting to see Diamond's beautiful face for the next hour. I will leave this screenshot here, however, for the remainder of the prologue. This may be a sensitive topic for some people. We are talking about children, the decision that goes into having biological children. So don't think we hate children. We love them. It's just that kids won't be kids forever. So the decision to have them is really important, and it's just something we want to talk about, and our opinion isn't always the most affirmative. So if this is a sensitive topic for you, maybe brace yourselves. But we do encourage, again, your feedback, and just encourage the conversation and keep going. So if you have a different opinion, don't hesitate to let us know. Let us know how you feel about it. But without further ado, episode 2. Just kidding. I'm not gonna do that. Buen dia, every person, place, or thing. I'm Christian.
And I'm Diamond.
And we are back by popular demand.
Is it popular by demand or is it by
No,
schedule?
I'm kidding. Totally kidding.
Okay.
But we are back, and today we are talking about something that might make or break our career. Today we are talking about children. Specifically, do the reasons we want children justify bringing another life into this world? This is probably an uncomfortable conversation to have with people, especially with people you're close to who are currently expecting or have children, like our friends. Mm-hmm. Diamond and I are of that age during which people are having kids. It's weird because every time I hear that a person I went to high school with is pregnant, my initial reaction is, what? Without even knowing their circumstance. And then I have to readjust and tell myself, oh yeah, we're in our late 20s. It's normal now.
Speak for yourself. I'm forever young.
Nevertheless, we should be mindful of our intentions and motivations for having children, what it means to have children, our current status, where are we in life, and is this place, be it mental or physical, conducive to raising another person? We're feeling passionate about this subject, and we'd like to talk about it with y'all. But before we do all of that, we want to give a shout out to Alex Strunky.
Strunk. Strunky is his Instagram handle. At Strunky, y'all. At Strunky.
Let me back that up. Whoop, 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 whoop. We want to give a shout out to Alex Strunk, who created our first fan art. It's the artwork for this video. So thank you, Alex. We're very thrilled.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Boo. Very excited. I was very excited. Not expecting it. Yeah, it was wonderful. Thanks, Boo.
Yeah, it was a great surprise. And yeah, check him out on Instagram. He has really fantastic artwork and photography on his page. So thank you, Alex. And thank you for giving me my hair back. Appreciate it. Next, we want to give a shout out to our friend Falana. She started her own nail business online, and it's nalasnails.com. So if your nails and your fingers are looking ratchet, get online and get some customizable press-on kits. Mm-hmm. She'll send you the whole kit, and these nails are looking bomb. They're looking beautiful.
You sure do, because I definitely need to get my nails done.
Me too.
And I will actually... Well, you never get your nails done, so
exactly. So
I'll be asking, but you never come. But anyway, I will actually be purchasing a press-on nail kit from Falana. So shout out to you, girl. Thank you.
And If you want to keep up with the latest nails in her collections, follow her on the gram at Nala's Nails. All right, so let's get dirty, shall we, Diamond?
Is it dirty? I mean,
It's uncomfortable, maybe.
it's uncomfortable.
Okay, I see you showing off.
Oh, boy. Black girls are the architects of cool. That's what my shirt says today.
All right, so, yes, Diamond. Do you want kids?
Possibly.
All right, and that's our show for today, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Come back for the next episode.
Shut up. No. How about you start? The question is, do you want to have children?
I do want children. However, I don't want to have a biological child. For a few years now, any desire to have a biological child has faded. I have my qualms about saying this next part because of how unpopular it might be. But the more I think about why we want kids, the more I find myself taking on the antinatalist position, which is to say it's wrong to start new life. I mean, I'm observing the reality of the lives of people around me, learning about what's happening in different parts of the world, watching films and reading books that earnestly touch on the human condition. And so I'm failing to see how bringing a child into this world will be for the benefit of the child. While most people's lives are not devoid of pleasures and moments of joy, I see people just getting by. Sometimes painfully, sometimes it's a life of mediocrity, or we're bombarded by insecurities, anxieties, stresses, heartaches, or dullness. So I don't always feel comfortable bringing a child into that. Almost all reasons for having biological children seem selfish, and that should give us pause. I've yet to come across a reason that benefits the child, because how can it? It doesn't exist. It's not as if we're pulling it out of a worse dimension by bringing it here. We're not doing the child any favors. We can't guarantee the child a wonderful life no matter how hard we work as parents. But we can guarantee that it will deal with pain in some form at some time. So, yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things to consider is that the child did not ask to be here. We did not get its permission. How could we? So I think we should minimize, if not completely do away with, the risks that we're readily taking with some other innocent person's existence. So, yeah. Diamond, what's your take?
So for myself, I agree with you for the most part. I don't agree that we shouldn't be having kids. But I do agree with you in that if you do make the decision to have children, it should be completely thought out, and it should be as selfless as possible. So do I want to have children? I'm not opposed to it. Right now, do I feel like I'm in the place to have children? Absolutely not. I think that people are too dependent on the idea of having biological children, which I think is really unfortunate. Like I was saying to you before, I'm not opposed to adoption for fostering a child or being a pet mom. I can get the I understand why folks would want to become parents and have a family, like a full family. But I also think that a lot of the time it's maybe for their partner or for complete selfish reasons because they are lonely. And you and I talk about this often, where it's like, you can't fill that void with a kid. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. Fill that void with yourself. Love yourself. And this is something that I am always working on. Um, just it's interesting because, like you mentioned, we are at the point in our lives, we're in our late 20s, and a lot of our friends are having babies, and a lot of them have babies, and they're progressing just in a different direction. And me as a woman, I look at that and I'm like, am I jealous, or is it just like a biological thing that I'm feeling? Like, I don't know, because sometimes I do feel this urge to like get pregnant, right? And feel that. But then my logic outweighs the feelings that I feel from within, and my reality outweighs the fantasy that I could create in my head. And I think people run with the fantasy, which is really unfortunate. So yeah, I am open to having children, but right now, no. Um, there's a lot of work. I don't feel I don't feel the void. I feel a biological urge, which is two completely different things. Um, and I don't feel the void because I fill my void with myself. Because I truly love me. I love my me time. I love working on me. I love exploring different avenues. I love not having that responsibility. Um, and children are a responsibility. Your life halts because of this kid. And sometimes it's not only your life halting, it's like you have to think in just such a different way. You're caring for another being. You can't put yourself first anymore. And sometimes you need to put yourself first in order to put that child first. And you haven't even gotten to that step. Again, going back to the loving yourself, it's like, how can I love something else when I feel fully don't love me and even know me? There's still so much to learn. That makes no sense to me. But because you don't know you, and you are still uncertain of you, and you're not in a place financially or mentally to care for yourself, but then you're bringing life into this world. That makes no sense to me. And that's where I think that like folks should not be having kids until they're ready. And a lot of people, almost every parent that I've talked to, will say you're never ready. Sure, because you don't know what to really expect, but you can be more prepared. I don't see the point of living at home, being dependent on your parents, and then bringing a child into that home, disturbing your parents' peace, and then disturbing yours. You not knowing how to handle this new baby, and then that damaging your mental health more and physical health more, and in turn that damaging the child. That happens far too often, and I don't think people even realize that it's happening because they're just so excited to have a baby. But that's just my take. I think that people need to be more thorough in the decision process of having a baby. Stop using children as stepping stools for your voids. They're not. We need to move away from that. And also, what we really need to stop doing is stop putting pressure on people to have babies, because that is happening to me far too often. So I was at an event recently. It was actually a baby shower, and someone that was there was rubbing the belly of a pregnant mom, and then started rubbing me as if to give that juju to me. Don't do that. Why? And when I tell you to stop, you look at me like I'm crazy. Don't. That's weird. Why would you do that? That's inappropriate. And also, you don't know my situation. Ask me, or don't, because it's really not your business. But don't do that. Whatever the fuck that is. Like, what the hell? There's just, it's like, it's unfortunate because having a like a 3-home family, mom, dad, and child, right? That's like the epitome of like life. But that's not how it is. That's not how it is. It's not always mom, dad. It's not always child. Like, let's move away from that. Um, I don't have to be happy. My end goal is not to have a child, and I'm going to be happy without that. I'm going to be happy with it or without it. So let's move away from like putting pressure on folks. Like, you won't be happy, you won't be fulfilled unless you have a child. Because I'm really happy. Well, that's a whole lie. But
You're already lying to the people, Diamond.
that's a whole lie, folks. I'm on my way, though. I'm on my way.
But you're not gonna use the child to get there.
But I'm not gonna use a child to get there.
Right.
No.
Yeah, I think it's romanticized.
Mm-hmm.
Having children, the whole family unit, it's romanticized, and that could be dangerous because it's not like that for everyone. And the child will not, you can't guarantee that a child is going to save you from your boredom or save your relationship, save you from your insecurities or satisfy your curiosities. And you shouldn't rely on a child to do that for you. That's a lot of pressure on the kid.
Sure is.
And I think most of us are serviceably intelligent. By that I mean,
what do you mean?
We're not geniuses, but we're smart enough to use critical thinking in a lot of areas of our lives.
Okay.
Yeah, we can really drop the ball when it comes to having biological children. That monumental responsibility, and we put off healing our own grievances or and shortcomings because it's an uncomfortable thing to deal with, or we just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I like about adoption is that there's a process. You're scrutinized. Professionals have to look into your finances, your home.
Background checks,
Psychological evaluations. There are classes one may have to take. And then there's the time that it takes to complete this process. So during that time, the parents-to-be are afforded the time to really ruminate on their decision. I think that process should be mandatory for those looking to have biological children too. I know. Implementing something like that could be implausible. But wouldn't it be nice? Let's encourage people to be more mentally and financially stable before they have children.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It seems like that's the obvious, that we should want to be in that place. But like you said, there are people pressuring you or asking you when you're going to have children. And it's like, they don't even ask you, hey, is that something you want? What's going on in your life?
Just like, how are you? But truly asking to listen. How are you? How's your life going? Ask me that before you ask me when are you going to have a baby?
Yeah. And we should also have a mental health credit score. And if your mental health score is not 850 or higher, you can't have kids.
No one's gonna have kids. Well, that's what you would want.
Exactly.
That's funny.
All right. Let's get into the answers that people provided for why they want children and why they think about having biological children. Some of these answers I collected from hearing what people have said over time, but for those who answered us on Instagram, thank you for taking the time to really give us such honest and in-depth responses. And instead of just like a line or two, people continue to explain what they meant or why they felt that way. It's great. I will preface the next part of this episode by saying a lot of these reasons I imagine are shared with many people. And when people sort of pressure Diamond or I to have kids using these points, well, we're going to explain why they don't move us, why they don't do too much to convince us that we should be having kids, at least not right now. So yeah, here we go. The first thing I have written here is to pass on genes, family name, culture, values, spiritual energy, to leave a piece of myself behind, or to not be forgotten. when I think about the desire to pass on genes, I want to ask, what the hell makes me so special? I'm not brilliant. I don't have the quintessential body.
You have asthma.
I have asthma. Cancer runs in my family.
High blood pressure.
High blood pressure. What genes am I passing on, really? I'm lazy. My child is not going to get to choose which genes it wants. And of course, it's a mixture of my genes and the mother's genes, but now I have to mate with a superhuman to give my baby a chance.
And also, you do have some good genes, CJ.
Yeah,
what are some of your good genes? Come on, like, you have some good genes. Stop it.
Like what?
You just want to hear someone talk good about you. I see what we're doing.
Okay, but for me, it's not enough. If I have a child that could develop severe asthma, I don't want to put it through that, risk its health just because it might turn out to be a good dancer. But it's natural to want to pass on our genes. It's our biological drive. Our genes, not that they're conscious, but they want to reproduce and survive throughout time. So I don't think anyone is insane or dissolute for feeling like this. But the beauty of humans, which I also say is our curse, is that we're advanced beings. And as advanced beings, we have the intellectual capacity to override our biological motivations. So unless you're a genius with a body that can adapt to any environment and you have a powerful immune system.
So basically Beyonce.
So basically Beyonce. Beyonce is the only one who can have children. I don't know about JC, but...
Listen, don't say that stuff. Don't say that stuff because there's something called the Beehive.
Whoops. I'm going to cut that out then.
No, leave that in. Let them come for us, please.
They're going to come for me, not for you.
I'm supporting my man. Go ahead.
Find a woman that loves you, y'all. And then the family name. And an adopted child can legally take on your name, and a biological child can legally change its name. It's just a name. And I can see the sentiment behind it, but if we ask ourselves why it's necessary, I think we'll struggle. Well, I'm struggling to answer that. And that's the important part, because if we're going to bring life into this world without its permission, shouldn't it be necessary?
Mm-hmm.
Or at the very least, shouldn't we have a damn good reason, which for me means necessary?
Maybe they were royalty, like the Romanovs. I don't know.
Okay, and?
I don't know. That's not something I struggle with, so I can't relate, really. I understand a little bit more, but, so my brother is the last Durval of this unit. And then there's one other Durval in another. Actually, no, because there's some Durvals in Haiti that I'm sure I don't know about. But so let's just say for U.S. based people, there are my brother is it. My brother is it. He needs to have a baby now.
And then there's culture and values. These I think are better than family name.
Really? Why? Why is that?
Well, because having a world of diverse lifestyles it's enriching. But we can still share our cultures with one another, and people wanting to immerse themselves in different cultures can be a wonderful thing, and a way to perpetuate these beautiful customs.
So I guess also when I think of the family name, I think of like the culture within that family. So maybe that's why it's, for me, those two are kind of infused. I can understand how they would stand alone, but in my brain, how I'm processing it, it's like if you are a Durval and we pass that on to you, we pass on the traditions and culture that we have in our family. So I also get that too. I get both of those reasons why.
Yeah, I see that. And passing on values, maybe these values are not the values your family instilled. when you were a child. Maybe you want to change it up. Like, for example, someone spoke about how in their household growing up, the females had to do all the house chores and the males were spoiled. So they grew up with this machismo mentality, and this person wishes to teach her children the value of equality.
I can relate to that actually. Not necessarily. It's just relatable, right? That statement and growing up in a house, a more traditional household, right? So I get that, and before I began to really think about having children and why would I want children, that was one of the reasons why I considered it. I wanted my offspring to do better and be better and think differently. Um, but now that I've taken the necessary steps to realize that maybe this might not be for me, or if it is, not in this time, um, another option that I actually was recently talking about with someone is um, so I like to volunteer for those of you who don't know. But one of the programs that I was thinking about starting at the center is like an etiquette and kind of like common sense program, where we talk about just kind of like everything. And that kind of fits into that because within that conversation I was having with that person, we were talking about how men, like in traditional households, men kind of don't do a lot of the legwork around the home. And then they in turn come into society and they have these like macho attitudes. And we can nip that in the bud, you know? So I say that because there are other options rather than you having your own children and teaching them that that's great. But then there are communities of people. There's an abundance of people who would also benefit from that knowledge
Yeah.
that you don't have to birth. You know, so yeah, it just you can just get more involved in your community. That's actually something that we also should work on. Like, it's not we are, what is that saying? It's a community saying, we are each other's something. Amanda Seals always says it, and I can't believe I'm forgetting it. But we are each other's something. We'll insert it when I find it out. But yeah, it takes a village, and we are each other's something.
I like that. We are each other's something. Let's just keep it like that.
Okay, we are each other's something. But yeah, so let's just spread that wealth, spread that education.
Yeah, get out there. Spread the wealth, spread the education. Mm-hmm. And we also have here spiritual energy.
I just don't know with that one. Like, what does that mean? Like, what I want to know exactly what that person means by that, because spiritual energy, like, I guess I could understand it if, are we talking like religion? What does that mean exactly? Are you talking about like a piece of you going into the child and that child carrying it with that kid forever? Like, what does that mean?
I'm going to say it's not religious based. Let me look at the comments so I can read it word for word. So just give me a moment here. The exact words are, I believe some essence of lineage / spirit / energy, etc. is contained and passed down through DNA.
Okay. So, that's kind of bringing me back to a conversation I had with my dad that I mentioned to you for sure. We talked about it, about what is the word, reincarnation? It, like, no, that's not what I want to connect it to. I don't know how I'm trying to connect this, but I'm trying to make it make sense in my head, but as I'm working it out, I can understand. Wow, this conversation's making me feel like maybe we shouldn't be having kids either, because these are really selfish reasons.
This person does go on to say that a biological preference feels extremely selfish, and in a hyper-populated world where there are many kids in the foster care system. So they agree.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these answers included a willingness to adopt or an understanding of the consequences of their desires. So at least there are people really thinking about this critically, or starting to. So that's wonderful. And we just want to open up that circle so that way more people are reflecting on this. Why do we want to leave something behind? Why are we afraid to be forgotten?
But you're dead.
Right. But like, why is it that we have these worries or fears, but some of us don't do anything about it while we're alive, while we can? We use our biological children to assuage this insecurity, but what if you create, I don't know, Doug from down the street? He's an okay fella, but he ain't much. Or what if you create the next asshole?
Yep.
I think there are many other ways we can leave an impressive legacy.
I think another way that we can leave our essence and our stick in this earth behind is to, instead of just let's cut children out of it completely, write a book. Create something.
Yeah.
Piece of art. Or just be a really great human. And people will forever remember you. You will be, yeah.
And like you said earlier, get involved with the community in some way. Volunteer, start a class.
Right.
Okay, next. To know what unconditional love is. This one for me is...
I hate this one.
Yeah.
I think this is the worst one, and it's the most common.
Yeah. And hey, I believe it, that you could love a child so intensely, but I believe you can feel unconditional love for an adopted child.
Sure.
And when one says that they want a biological child because it's the only way they'll experience true unconditional love, then the term unconditional love is already being negated because a condition is being placed on that love, and that condition is that the child has to be from me. So a few months ago, I had a conversation with somebody who told me they wanted several kids, and they said that it was important for them to all be biological because of this thing of unconditional love. I asked him if there are other relationships outside of the ones we have with our biological children in which we can experience unconditional love, like, a romantic partner, a friend, another family member. And they said yes. So then I asked, well, can't we feel that for an adopted child? A child that doesn't come from us. They also conceded that, but then they started saying that it wouldn't be the same. It'd be a different kind of unconditional love, which is strange for me to hear because unconditional love is just that. It's the ultimate love. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. And something else that was said was that there's going to be this baggage that the adopted child is going to be carrying, or something sword over its head or the parent's head, because that's not the real parent. And there's always going to be that tension there, I guess, in the relationship. And one day that during a fight, the child may say, I hate you, you're not even my real parent, and mean it. Whereas the biological child will not mean it if they say something like, I hate you, I wish you were never my parent.
I did. I sure did.
Yeah, I mean, I know that adopting has its own unique struggles that are, I guess, justifiably disconcerting, but that sort of thinking, I don't know, I think we should maybe unpack it more so we could start to move away from that.
That story hurts me, actually, that someone would truly think that way and feel that way. It just, sometimes, and it's interesting because I'm thinking about people in my life who at times I have a closer connection with than my own parents. And there is no way that you can tell me otherwise. There are times where I've completely distanced myself from my parents and latched on to other people. And they filled that spot for that moment. And it would kind of be flipped where if I was in an argument with my biological parent and I said, I hate you, I'd probably mean it. As opposed if I said that to the other person.
Yeah, and one of the ways that it was said to be different was that the unconditional love one feels for a biological child is automatic.
No, not at all. And let's also move away from that idea where you see this baby and you're like, oh my gosh, lay on my chest. No, that doesn't always happen.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's actually forced. Like I've talked to women who have given birth and the nurse or whoever puts the child on the chest and the mother doesn't even want it yet. And then the nurse is like, no, you have to bond. That's not always how it works. So let's move away from that.
I mean, postpartum depression is a thing.
Yeah.
So we know it's not always sunflowers and love at first sight. Raising a child is pressure on your life. Some people come out thrilled, some okay, and others come out damaged. That's why it's important to do self-care work before going into it, in case it isn't as you had imagined or idealized it. And then when you get to the point when you're in tip-top shape, when you have that 850 mental health score,
then revisit the idea.
Then you can revisit the idea. And then you can think of all the wisdom we will actually be giving our children.
Yeah.
When we get to that point. Yeah. Now, I'm going to the next one. Okay, so to not be lonely when I'm older and to have someone to care for me when I'm older.
Do well now so you can afford to go to a really nice retirement home when you're older. Period. That's it.
And the truth is, there are many parents who are in retirement homes or nursing homes. And it's not because the kids don't love them, but the children may not be in a place to care for the parent. The person who wrote about this didn't stop there, though. They kept thinking about it, and they wrote how it could be unfair to put their child in that situation because this person is in that circumstance now with their parents. So they're experiencing that burden firsthand. And again, it doesn't mean that they don't love the parents, but it can be a burden or stress in their life. So, I can see how it can be scary, though. I mean, I'm thinking of a world where we stopped having kids and the last of us are just a bunch of old people who can't help each other because we're on the floor with busted hips. I'm like, yikes. Still, let's not give our unborn children jobs already,
I was just going to say, instead of us being so dependent, like thinking, and I know this person quickly changed their, or thought about it and then added, but there are people who think that they want to have children so that they take care of them when they're older. That's a reason why one of the reasons why people have children. And I was just thinking, like, instead of having a kid to do that, why not work smart and get political and like change the system or be a part that changes the system to where healthcare is more attainable and senior living looks different. Like put that pressure on the government. Seriously, like, just let's look at it a little bit different. Don't, like you were saying, don't put that pressure on your unborn child. Like, how crazy does that sound? You're putting that pressure on your unborn child.
I wonder if the amount of effort that would go into that is holding people back. But raising a child is a lot of work too.
Right. It just looks differently. Transfer the energy.
Right, transfer the energy.
The energy. You owe it to yourself to do good for you. You had me. Well, no. But you know what it is? Like, because the parent the reasons why they had children were for their reasons, they do in turn feel like the kid owes them. Like, I stopped my life for you. And to what you were saying, I didn't ask you to do that. Thank you that I'm here, but I didn't ask you for that. So don't put that pressure on me again. But I want to say that a lot of the reason why we had children back in the day was for like horticultural reasons, but the same reasons that we needed children then, we don't need them now because we have technology and knowledge,
Yeah, no, we don't need people for these things anymore. That's what robots are for.
That's so funny that you say that, because my dad, he and I had a conversation last night actually, and he was like, do you think we'll ever, his question was, do you think we'll ever get to a point where humans become obsolete? That was his exact question. I was like, that's a good question. I don't know. Let me think about it. But it's so funny that you say that, because that was his exact question last night. And I was like, let me think about it. I don't know, Dad. I don't know.
Well, you know what I think? I think humans serve no purpose for this universe anyway. So I'd say we're already obsolete.
Yeah.
We're just here to keep each other company before we too go on the list of extinct species. And lastly, I have here the religious pressure. So God, and I'm speaking of Christianity here, but I don't doubt that many other religions share this ideology, but God wanting humans to be fruitful and multiply. The Bible says that pregnancy is a blessing or reward from God, that it is through childbearing that the woman will be saved, since it was the first woman, Eve, who sinned against God.
Yeah.
When you throw religion into it and the afterlife, it seems even more important to not bring life into this world. Because the Bible also mentions that the road to destruction is wider than the road to life, which sounds like more people will end up being punished in hell for all of eternity than living in paradise. You can tell your child all you want about Jesus, but it will grow into its own one day, and it may no longer believe. Jesus said in the Gospel of Mark, he was talking to his disciples about Judas. He said, woe to the man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him to not have been born. That sounds like antinatalism to me. Or even more so in Ecclesiastes. Did I say that right? Ecclesiastes? I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. But in that book of the Bible, someone says that the dead are happier than the living, but better than those are the ones who have not been born and have not witnessed all of the evil done under the sun.
Ooh. Wait, but that's a whole contradiction, but go ahead.
How so?
Because, okay, doesn't God like pick and choose who comes to earth?
Exactly. No, our life, our journey is supposedly already written in his book.
Right.
So if he knows where most of us will end up, why not save some of us the trouble? So let's be wary about using religion as a motivation for procreation. The moral of the story? Use condoms, y'all. Or don't have sex. And that's the tea. And if you're going to have children, or maybe you already do, or you have one, or some on the way, put in the work. Get professional help if you need it. But put in the work to cultivate the environment necessary to support the healthy growth of your child's mental and physical development. Make sure you, your partner, work out your trouble areas. It would be great if we heard this comment less. Having children taught me how to be patient and understanding, compassionate. Aren't those the fundamentals of being a good parent?
Right.
Those seem like traits we should have acquired before we have our kids. It is not our children's responsibility to teach us how to be decent people, and it's not fair that our children may suffer the consequences of our trials and errors. Mm-hmm. So before having the child, just sit with yourself, and figure out what it is that you need to improve.
Mm-hmm. You said it before where you said the child is not the guinea pig. The child is not the guinea pig. And I agree with you should have all these traits before you have children. I can understand if maybe your thought in this is like, not that this it's the kid's responsibility to teach me these things, but I already have these traits and the kid is going to expand,
Right.
that knowledge, I guess, that knowledge base of these, I don't know, they're going to expand on these feelings and these qualities that I already have, right? They're going to expand on these, but they should not be the reasons why I'm patient. I'm patient now because I'm patient and I listen to hear. No, what is that saying? I listen to, damn, I can't with these sayings. I listen to learn, not to respond. It shouldn't be the child's responsibility, like you were saying, to teach the parents. I think that's so back. That's ass backwards, and that's another thing we need to completely move away from. Like again, if the child so happens to expand on these traits that you already have, that's beautiful. I think that's wonderful. I think when you have a child, you learn, whether it's your biological child or adoptive, whatever it is, foster child, you learn, right? So I don't want to take that away from potential parents or future parents or current parents. But when we're talking about having children, it shouldn't be something where you have no base knowledge and it's like, okay, we're here. That's scary to me. And that's what happens far too often, than people having that base knowledge and then working with what they got and learning as they go from there. It's like, it shouldn't be like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? I mean, of course, there's, say if you have this biological child or a child, and say if it's a child in general, and that's a new experience if you haven't been a parent before, and you're gonna still feel like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? But you might have a better handle if you're in a better place mentally and you have some of these traits like patience and acceptance and like full love, unconditional love, right? Um, the process may go smoother. It will go smoother.
Yeah, certainly. Like I said, I'm under the impression that we shouldn't be having biological children at all, but maybe someone will convince me otherwise. But people will keep having kids.
Mm-hmm.
My friends are doing it now, and I love their kids, even the ones that aren't born yet. Children are these balls of light. We have to do right by them. I wish one of the commandments was honor thy child, because if any human being deserves automatic respect, it's the child. So do what you need to do to be that A1 parent.
You got to be that superstar parent.
And you can do it. We believe in you.
You can. Listen, therapy, communication. If you have a partner, having a really great relationship with that partner, you can do it. But sometimes it doesn't always work that way. Oftentimes it doesn't always work that way.
Which is why we shouldn't be having kids.
CJ! But, so to wrap things up, don't have kids. No, I'm kidding. No, if you have kids, I think kids are wonderful. If you're going to have them, be thoughtful. Be thoughtful and mindful to yourself and to the unborn child. Think about long-term effects that having children, think about the long-term effects that can happen to the children, to yourself, to just life. And do your homework. Something that we've all heard before. Do your homework and do your research and get to know yourself and go to therapy and create a network. And also, don't be afraid of options, however that may look when we're talking about children, whether it's, of course, the first is having biological children, but then we have adoption and being a foster parent and volunteering, at different facilities that have children, and then being a pet parent, being a plant parent. Just, it can look so many different ways. Although having a biological child is, for women, something that most of us feel. And and I also want to say, it's okay for women not to have that urge to want to have children, because as I said earlier, there have been times where I feel this innate urge, but then there are other times where I feel nothing, and I know the difference. You know the difference, and those who know will know. They know, and it's okay to not act, and I want mostly women to know that it's okay to not aspire to be a mom, and it's okay to not aspire to have that fairy tale ending, and just do you. And I know that that term has somehow, it's so loosely used now. It doesn't hold, it's just, everything is do you, but truly do you. You don't have to answer to anyone, and you don't have to, like I said it before, the woman who touched the belly and then touch me. If someone does that, or something similar to that, or is just continuing to ask you about it, tell them. Say it makes you uncomfortable. I also did that at that very same party. Someone asked me, when am I going to have children? I said, stop asking me that. It's uncomfortable. I don't know. I don't know if I want that. So the better question would be, how are you? Let's start there. And then we can take it, as it goes. But stop putting these pressures on people. And also stop putting pressures on your kids. And if you don't think you're doing that, think again, because you probably are. Check in with them. Check in with yourself. Yeah, that's what I got. So next time, kids, look at me. Next time, kids, in the next episode, we'll be judging your parenting styles.
And your parents' parenting style.
And your parents. Yeah. My parents, for sure, getting judged.
Well, there you go. This is the one people have been waiting for, because ever since you made that comment about your mother, people are texting us like, oh, when are y'all going to talk about mothers? Like, people have a lot to say about their mothers. Yeah. Which is, again, watch it, because your child may have a lot to say about you someday.
This is true, and they might air it all out on the internets.
And they might not be kind enough to bleep out names.
Like,
So, thank you again for listening, for talking with us on Instagram. Let's keep the conversation going, either on the gram or in the comment section of this video. Maybe we said a lot of things that didn't sit well with you because we were too harsh or didn't understand. Maybe there's a piece you think we're missing. Or maybe you agree and you have more to add. Let's talk it out. Let's figure it out.
We are each other's business. That's what it is. We are each other's business.
Interesting. So the next time you tell me to mind my business, not that you ever do tell me that.
No, yeah, I was just thinking that. I actually don't tell you that.
But if you ever did.
But yeah, we are each other's business.
We are each other's business.
And let's keep the communication going. And that's it. Oh, you know what we forgot to do? Borderline uncomfortable, where it's okay to philosophize. No, fuck. I always mess it up. Okay, wait. No, let me do it. Borderline uncomfortable, where it's okay to know nothing, but philosophize about everything. Boom. Got it.
Hey. Also, going back to Alex and his artwork, he also included a caption that sounds better than what we wrote for our promos. So I'm going to head over to his page now to read it. He wrote, follow Borderline Uncomfortable and check out their podcast on all things that are, well, borderline uncomfortable. The only way to grow as a society, is to discuss and educate ourselves on why these situations make us uncomfortable. This is a safe space to discuss anything from those minuscule pet peeves that get under your skin to the blood-boiling circumstances that make your heart race. Share all of the uncomfortable things in life that you are comfortable putting out for discussion. Wonderful. But he did say something about a safe space. So maybe we were too judgmental. Need to tone it down.
Nowhere safe.
You heard it here, folks. No place is safe. But anyway, thank you for that, Alex.
Yeah, thank you again. All right. So until next time.
1.
2. I'm getting 1.